Now, if you've been playing Pathfinder for a while, this might seem like pretty basic information, but let me assure you that if you're just coming over from another tabletop role playing game or potentially coming into tabletop role playing games from the beginning, it can be a lot to kind of digest. But what I want to talk about today are feats. In Pathfinder, there are basically four types of feats. However, you can kind of expand that out, or you can't really contract it, but you can expand it out depending on what specifically you're talking about. And just to kind of help explain this to the new players coming in, I just thought I'd do a quick tip on feats today. My name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. So one of the things that I wanted to say about feats are generally the things that allow you to do things. That sounds like a very generic statement, but it's kind of true. These are going to be the things that define what makes the ancestry you picked different from the ancestry another player does. What specific skills you're going to have because you selected a class. What specific things you're able to do because you picked a proficiency in a certain skill. These are going to be the things that you can do because you picked a certain archetype. So feats are the individual things that allow your character to do unique, creative, and in a lot of cases, fantastic things in order to allow you to become a better adventurer. When we're talking about feats, you're basically talking about four groupings of feats. These are going to be your general feats, your skill feats, which you might also hear as general skill feats, your ancestry feats, as well as your class feats. We're kind of going to go through all of those in addition to some of the ones that are grouped under these bigger classes. With that, though, I want to go ahead and get into general feats. So general feats are kind of the first category we're going through. General feats are kind of exactly what they say on the tin. The general feats are the feats that pretty much anyone can take regardless of what ancestry, what class. General feats are things that pretty much anyone can pick. So for most classes, you will gain a general feat when you reach 3rd level, and then you will get another general feat every 4 levels thereafter. Each time you gain a general feat, you can select any feat with the general trait whose prerequisites you satisfy. Generally, when we're talking about the prerequisites you satisfy, we are talking about maybe you're trained in a certain level of something, or maybe you meet a certain level requirement in order to pick a feat. So, for example, if you were picking your first feat at 3rd level, you couldn't pick a 7th level general feat. You have to be able to satisfy the prerequisites for the specific feat you're trying to take. Now that we've kind of defined general feats, I'm not going to go into specific examples because, once again, this is just a quick tip, but we're going to move into skill feats, which are listed in the book as general skill feats. So they do fit into the general category, but they are a little bit more specific. So as we've said, general feats include a subcategory of skill feats, which expand what you can do with your character via the skills that you have chosen. And skill feats tie directly into the skills that you've picked. Things like athletics and stealth and medicine. Skill feats are tied to those skills that you've taken, and they build off and create unique characters based on not only the skills you've picked, but the levels of proficiency that you have trained your characters in. These general traits that are skill traits will have the skill trait associated with them. And most characters gain skill feats at 2nd level and every 2 levels after that. So, as mentioned, because they do have a skill trait, when you gain a skill feat, you must select a general feat that has this trait. When picking this particular skill feat, you must be trained or better in the corresponding skill to select a skill feat. So if you were not trained in stealth, then you couldn't select a skill feat that is associated with stealth. In addition, you also have to meet the training proficiency as you go up, and you are selecting higher and higher level skill feats. Now, the level of a skill feat is typically the minimum level at which a character could meet its proficiency prerequisite. Now that we've kind of done the skill feats, let's move on to ancestries. So your ancestry feats are going to be the feats that define what makes your ancestry unique, as opposed to some of the other ancestries out there. At first level, you're going to get one ancestry feat, and you will get an additional ancestry feat every 4 levels, kind of after that. So you get it at 5th, 9th, 13th, and 17th. These are going to be the feats that give you things specific to the ancestry, things like Dwarven weapon familiarity, things that you only get by being a member of that particular ancestry. With that, I want to go into the next one, which are class feats. So class feats are similar to the other feats in that it's kind of what it is on the tin. These are the feats you get by being a specific class. If you are a bard, you have bard class feats. If you are a barbarian, you have barbarian class feats. And you will get a class feat at first level and every even numbered level after that. And you will generally see these feats listed with the class description in whatever book you're using. If you're using the core rule book for the base classes, it'll be there. If you have a class that was only introduced in a specific supplement, then that class will be listed within that supplement and the class feats will be listed there. Now, there is kind of an additional part here, and this would be if you selected an archetype, and archetype feats really are called archetype class feats. So what you would do is you would find an archetype that you would like to play, one that fits the type of character you want to build, one that you think will fit with the party and how you want to play the game. You would select that archetype's dedication feat using one of your class feat choices. So if you are not playing the free archetype rule, then you have to give up one of your class feats in order to select an archetype class feat. Once you've selected that dedication feat, then you can select further archetype class features as long as you meet the prerequisites for those particular archetype class feats. And when you're going through the various archetypes, there will be restrictions based on levels and proficiencies and how far along you are within the archetype. So these are things that you have to pay attention to when you're building your archetype. Now, I don't want to go too far down this particular rabbit hole, but if you were to play like the free archetype optional rule, then you'd be taking these at different times. But in general, it works the same. An archetype feat is basically an archetype class feat. Now, I hope this little brief description on the different types of feat kind of helps you out. Once again, for most players, once you've done this once or twice, it becomes super easy and kind of natural to figure out. If you are a brand new player or coming from another tabletop role-playing game that only has feats in general, then this can be a bit of a mystery and a bit hard to figure out. But one of the things I will suggest, and there are multiple out here, I'm going to kind of plug the one that I use, but there are other ones out there. But I like using Path Builder because it has all these feats laid out there. Once again, there are other online character building tools out there that'll help you plan this out. But especially if you're doing it for the first time, I suggest that you work with one of these class or character building websites in order to create your first character, just so you don't miss some of these things, because some of them happen at even ones, some of them happen at odd ones, some of them happen at various times and every 4th level, and it can be a bit hard to keep track of. But I do hope you like this quick tip, and if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. But whatever you do, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.